created the same role consequently that King Herod once was shepherd. He summoned his religious advisors and they told him, yes, Prophet Micah had foretold that the Christ, the Savior, would be born in Bethlehem in Israel. Herod then
Johnson of the Anglican Mission to welcome you to our worship this evening. For those viewers watching this worship service on television, a very welcome to you all. And we also welcome the crew from GRTS who have made it possible to relay this service. Today during the service, by way of introduction, let me say that there are various things going to be happening. By that I mean the basic thrust of this evening's service. We have a twofold purpose.
He tells us
on the one hand, it is a service of thanksgiving where we look back at the year that is about to close, the year 2008, and it is also a service of preparation where we look forward to the year 2000.
Matthew then continues his gospel with two shorter stories, the flight into Egypt and the return to the land of Israel. The angel of God spoke to Joseph in a dream. Joseph was told to get up quickly, take the child and its mother, and to flee into Egypt and to remain there until he gets further instructions. The reason Herod is about to search for the child so as to destroy him. Few years before that, Herod had two of his own sons executed. He suspected they had become a threat to his power. Then around the time of the birth of Christ himself, around 4 BC, he killed a third son for the same reason.
Hello Musa, hello Musa, hello Musa, hello Musa, hello Musa, hello Musa. We need something answer clear, Musa. We don't want to say whether noise or not. Clear sound, that's what we want to hear. Yes or no? Is there any sound? Yes or no? Sound, yes or no? Yes, sound, hello sound, yes or no? That's the answer we want to hear, not like noise. Yes or no? Hello sound, hello sound.
The holy innocents.
Because when we are on live, we have no time to rectify. We want to know yes or no. Are we there? Are we there? Hello, are we there? Hello, are we there? Yes, now. Loud and clear, right? Then we are done. If it is clear, we are done. This is direct. The moment we enter inside the church, we are okay.
Old or under should be killed, judging from the time that the wise men had asked about the infant king. Herod was now certain that he had been betrayed by those wise men, and along with that, the rumor of the belief in the coming of a messianic king at that time called for swift action. He sensed hostility and opposition all around him, and he was determined to wipe out any threat to his power as king of Judea. In the meantime, Joseph, Mary and the child were well on their way to Egypt, where they could expect to find some kind of security and shelter. Apart from that, it is hard to imagine the physical discomfort of such a journey. And on top of that, there was the constant anxiety about the safety of the child and their own future as they made their way to Egypt along the dusty roads in winter time, helped only by their faithful donkey. Their experience as refugees in this part of the world reminds us today of the thousands of families and others who are victims of the same kind of suffering and hardship. After some time in Egypt, Joseph received another message in a dream from the angel. He was told that Herod has died, and so the time has come for him to return home with his family. However, there was still one more final bridge to cross. Joseph learnt that the new king of Judea, a fourth son of Herod the Great, the most brutal of all Herod's sons, was now ruling Judea. In this case, there is no going back to Bethlehem, and Joseph was instructed once again in a dream to go back to Galilee, where they eventually settled in Nazareth, the place where everything began with the visit of the angel Gabriel to Mary. Later on in the public life of Jesus, this would cause some confusion with regard to the prophecy stating that the Messiah King would come from Bethlehem in Judea. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? You remember Nathanael spoke those words. Then again, the Pharisees insisted in an argument one day, prophets don't come from Galilee. And so, from Nazareth to Bethlehem, from Bethlehem to Egypt, and from Egypt back to Israel to settle in Nazareth, Galilee. Such was the fate of the Holy Family in its early months as recorded by Matthew. In Luke's Gospel, the early days of the Holy Family are less tragic than those we read about in Matthew's Gospel, which, as it turns out, we will hear this year, 2013, on the Feast of the Holy Family. Such events remind us today that the mystery of the Word made flesh was truly real. The Son of God became a man like us. There is no doubt that he too understands all our problems and tough experiences. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Even therefore, as a tiny baby, Jesus was subject to the upheavals and the violence of history, its political rulers at that time. In those early days, when Mary would have carried him a lot in her arms on those journeys across Bethlehem down to Egypt and back to Nazareth, in those moments he must have sensed when his mother experienced a lot of fear and apprehension. When we hear or read about the awful tragedies and the suffering of the people who now live in what we call the Holy Land and its neighbors like Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt, we are shocked and saddened at the present situation. Christians in particular are affected by these upheavals. The Orthodox Patriarch Gregory III of Laham in Syria reported, "The fear we experience is not from the Muslim neighbor, but rather from the fear of extremists." It would seem that life has hardly changed for these people since the time of Christ, almost 2,000 years ago. The actors involved have changed, yes, but the perpetrators of injustice and with the unfortunate victims of these evils, these have indeed changed.